Lewis Hamilton silenced everyone and put Ferrari on pole for the sprint race at the Chinese Grand Prix. And the best part? He's starting alongside Max Verstappen. Feels like 2021 all over again. Friday in Shanghai, and the spotlight didn't go to Verstappen, Norris, or Piastri. It went to the 7-time world champion, now in red. On his final run of sprint qualifying, Hamilton pulled a magical lap out of the bag, clocked a 1:30.849, and knocked everyone else off the top. To the delight of Ferrari fans and the frustration of Red Bull supporters, Max Verstappen lines up second, with Piastri rounding out the top 3. Before we go any further, make sure you like the video, subscribe to Paddock Insider, and hit the bell icon. The 2025 season is already full of twists and turns, and we're bringing you all of it. This sprint qualifying session was a dream for fans who love side stories, unexpected duels, and smart team play. At Williams, Alexander Albon impressed everyone by reaching SQ3 and leaving Carlos Sainz dazed in SQ2. Over at Racing Bulls, teamwork made the difference. Hajar provided the tow, Tsunoda capitalized and made the top 10. Meanwhile, at Red Bull, Verstappen struggled with the car, proving that their dominance might be under threat. And honestly, Liam Lawson is starting to give flashbacks of the Sergio Perez era from 2023 and 2024. At Ferrari, Hamilton led Leclerc for most of the session, lifting the spirits of the Tifosi. There's a new energy at Maranello, and it's hard to ignore. Yes, Gabriel Bortoleto made headlines again. Driving for Sauber, the Brazilian reached SQ2 once more, just squeezing through, but still ahead of big names like Hülkenberg and Lawson. He finished 14th, one place better than in Australia, and showing once again that when it comes to raw pace, he belongs in this field. For those tracking the future stars of F1, keep an eye on Bortoleto. With a stronger car, he might surprise more people than expected. At the start of qualifying, Verstappen set the first target with 1 minute 32.329 seconds, but Hamilton was just 0.025 seconds behind in the middle sector. By the end of the lap, Ferrari on top. That didn't last long. McLaren came charging in. Piastri set a blistering Sector 2 and posted 1:31.723, half a second faster than Hamilton. Norris wasn't far behind either. Still, Hamilton hit back with 1:31.212 to reclaim 1 Philippine peso. Also worth noting, Behrman got the Haas into the top 10, and Bortoleto clinched the final spot in SQ2. Well earned. With 15 drivers left and the midfield incredibly tight, Verstappen and Norris led early. Antonelli stunned with P3, Russell took P5. Once again, McLaren held the front with Piastri close behind Norris. But the stars of this session? Tsunoda, who surged into the top 4 with help from Hajar's tow, and Albon, who threw down a brilliant lap to put his Williams 5th, and Sainz knocked out. The Spaniard didn't even make it to SQ3, finishing behind Bortoleto, who secured 14th. Stroll outpaced Alonso while Behrman and Hajar were also eliminated. Soft tires fitted, as required for the sprint, and the final showdown looks set to be a McLaren-Mercedes affair. But Hamilton had other plans. Piastri clocked a strong 1:30.929, putting pressure on the field. Norris made a costly mistake in turn 13 and aborted his final lap. Then came the masterstroke. Hamilton nailed Sector 1, stayed consistent in the second, and crossed the line in 1:30.849. 0.080 seconds faster than Piastri. A sensational lap. Norris had one more shot, but bailed out. Advantage, Ferrari. Hamilton takes his first sprint pole in red, and the paddock was left stunned, apart from the Ferrari fans, of course. Sprint top 10 in Shanghai. Lewis Hamilton, Ferrari, Max Verstappen, Red Bull, Oscar Piastri, McLaren, Charles Leclerc, Ferrari, George Russell, Mercedes, Lando Norris, McLaren, Andrea Kimi Antonelli, Mercedes, Yuki Tsunoda, Racing Bulls, Alexander Albon, Williams, Lance Stroll, Aston Martin. The sprint race is set for Saturday, 22nd March at 3 a.m. UK time. with the official qualifying session for the Grand Prix at 7 a.m. Then on Sunday, 23rd March, the Chinese Grand Prix kicks off at 7 a.m. GMT. We've got full coverage here on Paddock Insider, with live reactions, analysis, and all the fallout after every session. Enjoyed the content? Then give us a like, drop your sprint predictions in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss a moment of this unpredictable 2025 season. Hamilton is back, Ferrari is alive, and the championship fight is just getting started. Lando Norris delivered a statement performance in Australia. Pole position, race victory, fastest lap. A Grand Slam weekend that had McLaren fans dreaming of a serious title challenge. For the first time in years, McLaren looked like a true powerhouse. But here's the catch. Norris isn't celebrating. Despite his dominant performance, the British driver is already warning that things might not be so easy in Shanghai. And it's not just about the competition. He's revealed a big problem with McLaren's car that could cost them their early advantage. Before we break down what this major issue is, how it could impact the Chinese GP, and whether Ferrari and Red Bull will capitalize, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Paddock Insider, and turn on notifications so you stay updated on this thrilling F1 season. And let us know in the comments, will Norris hold on to his lead, or is McLaren about to hit its first big obstacle? On paper, McLaren's MCL39 looked untouchable in Australia. Norris built a 15-second lead before safety cars brought the race back together, but instead of being overconfident, Norris is sounding the alarm. When asked about his confidence heading into the Chinese GP, he gave a measured response. "I hope we can perform well again, and that it'll be a bit easier. We had a great race in Australia, you know. Our gap to the competitors in the middle of the race was around 15 seconds. That kind of dominance should be a reason to celebrate, right? But then came the warning, it's another race, another weekend, so I wouldn't say we're confident that things will be exactly the same." And then came the biggest concern. We know that in certain conditions, like the wetter ones, Max Verstappen was just as fast as us. In the dry, we were a bit better, so it's just about making the car a little more predictable and a bit more comfortable. What this means for McLaren's season. This is a huge revelation. On a perfectly dry track, McLaren has an edge. In mixed or changing conditions, Red Bull and Ferrari could close the gap, or even overtake them. And let's not forget, Shanghai has a history of unpredictable weather. If Norris isn't fully comfortable with the MCL39 in tricky conditions, that 15-second advantage from Australia could disappear overnight. McLaren is now facing a critical test. If they can't make the car more predictable, they will struggle to maintain their early lead in the championship. Despite Norris's dominant win, he isn't fully satisfied with the car's handling. From a car perspective, you know, the car is performing well, but it's still extremely difficult to drive. For most teams, if a car is hard to handle, it's a red flag. But McLaren's case is unique. It means, when Norris gets it right, the MCL39 is a rocket ship. When conditions change, it becomes unpredictable. This could be a serious problem if a race doesn't unfold under perfect circumstances. And Norris himself admitted that Red Bull was just as fast in the rain. That's a major concern because Shanghai has a history of unexpected weather shifts. Let's look at past races where changing conditions flipped the grid upside down. Silverstone 2020, dry to wet chaos that reshuffled the podium. Hockenheim 2019, a wet-dry thriller where strategy mistakes cost teams massively. Monza 2021, an unpredictable race that led to one of the biggest upsets in modern F1. If McLaren isn't ready for these scenarios, their early championship advantage could slip away. McLaren may have started the season strong, but Shanghai will be the real test. Red Bull is lurking. Verstappen wasn't dominant in Australia, but he was just as fast in wet conditions. If Shanghai brings variable weather, expect Red Bull to be right there fighting for the win. Ferrari is improving. Leclerc and Hamilton struggled in Melbourne, but the SF25 has strong straight-line speed, which could be an advantage in Shanghai's long straights and heavy braking zones. McLaren must stay perfect. Norris admitted that McLaren's edge only exists in perfect conditions. But how often does a race weekend go exactly as planned? So the real question is, can Norris hold on to his lead, or is this where Ferrari and Red Bull strike back? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Will Norris dominate again, or is this where the real title fight begins?